Hi there, this is Ranjit and I have this Sony Xperia C5 with me, and in this video we'll be doing the full review. And this Xperia C5 is a massive device. It sports a 6-inch screen, yes, 6-inch screen, and it's a 1080p panel that Sony is using. One thing that I really liked about this device is the very thin bezels. Hence, though it is having that huge screen, you can technically hold it in a single hand, but again, for most operations you have to use both your hands. Though Sony does provide us a single hand operations like this. If you just do this gesture, for example from here, just do like this, you can use it with a single hand, but I would say it's a two-hand device. And the biggest thing about this device is the camera. Though the rear facing camera is a 13 megapixel shooter, even the front facing camera is a 13 megapixel shooter with LED flash. And I'll share my experience in this video and later on give you my pros and cons. But before I do that, let me give you a configuration overview. This Xperia C5 Ultra sports a 6-inch IPS LCD screen, which is a 1080p screen. Moving to the processor, it is having a MediaTek octa-core processor, that's the MT6752, and it is clocked at 1.7 GHz and it's based on the ARM Cortex A53 architecture. Regarding the GPU, it sports the Mali T760 MP2 GPU. It has 2 GB of RAM, 16 GB of internal storage, and it also has a micro SD card slot. Moving towards the camera, the rear facing as well as the front facing camera both have a 13 megapixel sensor, and the front facing camera also has a LED flash. It also has NFC support, and the battery is a 2930 milliamp hour battery. Now if we move to in terms of in-hand feel, as I told you, it's a big device and it's slightly on the heavier side, but you will get used to it in about 3-4 days. And we have all the slots over here. If you open this, you can add your micro SD card, and this is a mini tray, and you can pull this out and add your 2 SIMs on it. This is a metallic frame. I like it. In terms of the build quality, I like the build quality of the device. It does not feel cheap, I have to say that. But again, you have to get used to the size of the device. Now if we talk about the general performance, I would say the general performance was really good. This is the typical Sony skin that we see. This is the app tray, and you can arrange the icons here the way you like. For example, alphabetic, most used, and you can also uninstall some apps. One thing I don't like is that Sony has added a lot of extra bloatware with this device. So though it has 16 GB of internal storage, there's a lot of bloatware that was installed on the device. But now if we talk about the Android version, out of the box it comes with the Android version 5.0, which is Lollipop, but it's not the latest version of Lollipop that we are getting. And regarding the processor, as I've already mentioned, it is having a MediaTek processor, and I feel Sony should have gone with a better processor, because in my usage, I would say in terms of general performance, as I mentioned earlier also, the general performance of this device was good, but I have noticed 4 or 5 times the phone froze on me. And in fact, it's just not me. Some users on Twitter also complained me about this with the random freezing issues. And I'm not very sure if Sony can solve that, but I'm having those issues every second or third day. It just freezes. So you have to just hold the power button for about 30 seconds and force a reboot. As I told you, in general operations, it's really nice. And I like the Sony skin because Sony does not try to do a lot of things. Yes, they have provided some extra options. For example, these are the quick toggles. You can just hit this edit button and you can add your favorite quick toggles over here. So we find some nifty features like this. So overall, I like the UI, and in terms of general responsiveness, the phone is really responsive in my opinion. Now when we talk about sensors, here also Sony did not skimp a lot, I would say. For example, this is the Compass app, and as you can see, it works really well. Let's just go back. And multi-touch also, we have 10 multi-touch points. That's good. But again, when I was trying to use this CPU Z app, for example, if I try to invoke it, many times it just hangs. For example, right now it just hung up. So stuff like this can happen with a few apps. So that's the case, and sometimes it completely freezes the device, so you have to do a forced reboot. Now if we talk about the gaming performance, I did quite a bit of gaming with this device, and I'm happy to say that in terms of gaming performance, this Xperia C5 Ultra performed very well, and it could even run very heavy games like Nova 3 without any issues. But again, if you watch my gaming review, you'll notice that once it completely froze in Modern Combat 5. But apart from that, it does very good in gaming. But with extended gaming, yes, the device certainly gets a bit on the hotter side. It reaches temperatures around 45 degrees Celsius. Now, if we talk about the camera, here I feel Sony has done a fabulous job with the Xperia C5. I won't go in depth regarding the camera because I've already posted a dedicated camera review. You can check out that for more info. But I have to say the camera performance was really nice. The only thing is that the focusing is a little bit slow. It takes about a second to focus. So you just can't keep on clicking like this and expect it to take the photographs. As you can see, that lag. But apart from that, in terms of photography, as you can see from the sample shots, the camera performance was very good. In fact, even the front facing camera was one of the best that I've seen on any smartphone till date. So apart from the shutter lag, the camera performance was very good on this Xperia C5. But again, also if you use the camera a lot, it tends to get a little bit on the hotter side. Now if we move to the battery life, here I would say I was satisfied with the battery life. Sony says that you can get a battery life of around 2 days with this device. I would say that is with very casual usage. With regular usage, I was easily able to get about a day's worth of battery life with this device. And another thing that I really liked is that the standby time is actually really good on this device. If you don't use the phone a lot, for example, I shut off the phone. As you can see, this is the idle drain. There's almost any idle drain on the device. So in terms of standby life, it is very good. But with regular usage, I would say it can last for a full working day. But as Sony says, it should last you for 2 days. I don't think so. That's a sort of a stretch. Now let me divide this phone between the pros and the cons. First, let's talk about the good things about this device. As I've already told you, in terms of multimedia experience, this is a great device for consumption because of this huge 6-inch screen. And the good thing is that USB OTG also works out of the box. You don't have to install any third-party software. You just plug in. It will detect in a second, and thereby you can access the contents on your USB drive. For example, you can load up your movies, etc. If you go here, if you just go to the external USB storage, this is our USB OTG drive. And for example, let's play this video. So as you can see, it plays it really well. The viewing angles are nice, but not the best. There's a little bit of color shifting, but overall, for multimedia consumption, it is really good. Another thing I like is that it has this dual firing speakers. So it sort of gives you that, stereo effect. So USB OTG works and it's great for multimedia consumptions in my opinion. Now if we move to the camera, as I already mentioned, the camera performance was very good apart from the shutter lag. Also in terms of battery life, the battery life is good. It can easily last for a full working day. And also I do like the fact that the bezels are so thin. So the phone looks really elegant. Though it is a 6-inch phone, you can sort of hold it in a single hand. Also in terms of general performance, as I told you, in terms of the lag, anything in the UI, there was no lag that I've noticed. And it handles multitasking also fairly well, though it has just 2 GB of RAM. Also we do have this small apps like this, and you can use this for sort of multitasking. So that works really well in my opinion. Now let's move to some of the things that I do not like about this device. The first thing is regarding the screen, and I'm being a little bit picky, I would say, over here. The screen has a slight yellowish tint, and if you tilt it a little bit, the colors shift a little bit. This won't be an issue for most people, but if you're really picky, you will notice that a little bit. So I thought I should let you guys know about that. Also, when we move to the cellular call quality, in terms of cellular reception, I don't have a problem. But as this is actually not a earpiece, this is actually the speaker, which is also a earpiece. In terms of cellular calls, I was not happy because whenever I was taking cellular calls, the back used to vibrate a little bit. So I did not like the cellular call quality. So if you are a person who talks a lot, then I would not suggest this phone to you. Also, as I mentioned, it does tend to heat up a little bit, so you have to be aware of that. One another thing that I really do not like about this device is that, as I mentioned earlier, I experienced multiple times that the phone froze on me, about 3 times in my testing. So you have to be aware of that. And again, it's just not me. Some other users also on Twitter have complained me about this particular issue. I'm not sure if Sony can solve that with a software update, but as of now, I'm on the latest update and it still freezes at times. Also, as I mentioned, I really like the camera. In fact, the front-facing camera is one of the best, but there is sort of a shutter lag. So these are my opinions regarding the Sony Xperia C5. Overall, I would say it's a great phone for a person who does not talk a lot, but likes to consume a lot of multimedia on the go. In those respects, I would say it's a very good phone. And also, if you are a sort of a person who takes a lot of pictures and a lot of selfies, then you can certainly have a look at the Sony Xperia C5. But again, I am a little bit worried about the freezing issues and the cellular call quality on this device. I've also posted dedicated videos regarding the gaming and the camera performance of the Xperia C5, so make sure you check them out. And if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. This is Ranjit and I hope to see you in my next video.